Guys, Raymond Brown here, Sidemore Investments Wealth. I want to talk about this article that came out on CNN very recently regarding the wealth levels by race. Now, I wanted to do a little deep dive into the chart that is displayed in this article. It is telling us that the Asian American median for 2022 net worth is $536,000 for the Asian Americans. For the white Americans, it's $285,000 net worth. For the Hispanic American, it's $61,000. And for the Black American, it's $44,900. So we've interjected the Hispanic American to go right on top of Black Americans. Now we know that Black Americans spend a whole lot of money in this economy. As a matter of fact, as soon as the holiday lights turn on, there we will be shopping and buying presents, keeping the economy going, keeping corporate profit at an all-time high. But in the meantime, our net worth is going to continue to drag towards the bottom of the chart there. Think about the disparity of 45,000 versus the white American 285. I'm going to deal with those two first. I can talk about the Hispanic American moving right on up, but we know that the Hispanic Americans probably have a lower cost of living and they probably invest more in housing and businesses and things like that. We see that and we see them working very hard. I'm not going to even deal with that one. I'm going to talk about the fact that we're at the bottom of this food chain, and we've been here just as long as the white American. As a matter of fact, when George Washington was fighting for this country, he was alongside a Black American, pushing George Washington to complete the task here of free, creating the United States. That's another history lesson for you. But let's talk about the spending habits of the Black American. And this is not a conversation that should be taken in a negative light. It's all about knowledge and information. Just like other Americans, we want to enjoy the fruits of our labor. We want to, work our 40-hour work week. We want to come home and we want to enjoy the fruits of our labor. Go out, have dinner, go out of town, concerts, comedy clubs, and things of that nature. What we're falling short, guys, is a priority around dispersing the funds that we make, that paycheck. Now, before you get into this, hey man, I don't have a lot of money left over, let's talk about that. Let's dive into the details as to the income that we have versus the income, let's say, the Hispanic person has versus the white person. Now, we can make an argument that, hey, we don't make the same amount of money. But that argument is probably losing steam, because if you look at your job, you probably see white coworkers, right? Or Hispanic coworkers making probably right around the same ballpark as you're making today. Now, I know I realize as you go up that corporate ladder, people that look like us, it gets fewer and fewer. I understand that. And they're going to create, outliers for statistics. I understand that. But let's dive into the details of us being able to properly manage what we have. Because again, the Hispanic is moving it right along because they're putting priority around other things. Now, I can get into we're the first to get the luxury cars. We're buying all the clothes. We go out to a club and spend globs of money. I can get into all that, but that's easy. I don't want to even talk about that. I want to talk about the fact or the refusal to do simple things. Not only are we spending money on things that are what we call experiences, which bears no return back into your coffers or back into your net worth. We're not purposely or we're intentionally not doing simple things like life insurance or burial insurance or simple investments. You can invest in a market, you can buy stocks at a very, $5, $10. We're making purposeful choices not to do wiser things with our money. But let me talk about net worth before I go any further. If you are listening to my voice and if you want to do this, you can figure out what your net worth is right now really quick. All you have to do is add up all of the assets that you have. What are assets? That's if you're in a home, if you have equity in that home, that's on the asset side of this equation. If you have cash in the bank, assets. If you have stocks, the value of that portfolio, assets, and things of that nature. What are not assets are things that are what we call liabilities. And we can talk about those. Credit card debt, what you owe on the house, go on the other side of it. What you may owe on a car, going on the other side of it, going to liabilities. Now, also, whatever that car is worth, that's an asset. I mean, if you buy a car and it's $50,000, if it's worth 20 and you owe 30, you're upside down by 10,000, but you can put both sides in the equation. 20,000 for what it's worth that day versus 30,000 is what you may owe on it. So you're upside down by $10,000. It's going to be a negative, but it's something you can add to your portfolio if you want to. If you want to add to the equation there. So that's how you figure out what your net worth is. So the CNN study came to the conclusion that on average, Black Americans have about $45,000 in net worth. White Americans, $285,000. Guys, that's like 4, 5 times, 6 times more valuable. So that's a lot. We have to dig deeper into the priorities that we have with the money that we make, priorities around what we're doing with our money. And I know it's difficult because, when all of your friends are doing something, you decide, hey, I got to do what everybody else is doing, or I feel left out, right? If everybody's going on a trip out to Vegas, I got to go on a trip out to Vegas. Everybody's getting their hair done, I got to get my hair done. If everybody's, driving a certain car, I got to be on that level as well. That's peer pressure, but that's also creating this huge disparity in our communities, right? Because it's harder to be bold when it comes to standing on an island, what it seems like an island, by doing things that are different than everybody that you know. But guys, guess what? If you're in a fish tank, or if you're in an enclosed area and everybody has been dealt the same blow, you got to think, hey, I got to be different to get out of this. And I want you guys to start thinking differently about money and about what you prioritize. Everybody want to have fun. Everybody wants to go on trips. Everybody wants to dress a certain way. But all those things are not adding to your net worth. And some people may say, well, I don't care. The problem is the generation, right? Your next generation, your children, they're going to come out and have to start from zero because they don't have anything to give to them, anything of value. And if something happens to that income that you have on a job, you'll be in a really tough situation because you don't have anything to help you absorb a blow with income. That means you are a slave to that 40-hour work week, 60-hour work week. You're a slave to it. You can't you can't free yourself. We can go into scripture when it says, free yourself like a gazelle. Work tirelessly until you are free. Those things are scripture. All right. This is biblical. This is a biblical based discussion. He who leaves an inheritance, for his children. Those things are biblical. For some reason, we skip over all that stuff in the Bible and we start talking about how good Jesus is, which is true. But we also have to talk through and understand the purpose of our life here and how to fully maximize our time on earth. And that's what these other races are doing, and we need to start doing the same thing, guys. We got to start being wiser with our money. We have to start thinking about financial freedom, economic freedom, and things of that nature, guys. I talked recently about, there's never a discussion around owning banks, owning corporations, owning real estate, corporate real estate, buildings. Those conversations are rarely in your timeline on your social media, because it's just out of the question for a lot of the people that you may know, right? It's just not something that we discuss. It's not something that's relevant, especially if you're over 40, 45 years old. Your conversation is just like a 20-year-old, right? You guys are discussing the same things. That's not positive. We need to elevate our conversation around economics and priorities. When you do that, your social media conversation is going to be totally different, right? Everybody likes to have fun. However, you want to, if you're 40 plus, you need to be, really concerned about net worth and things of that nature. That's important. And it's important enough for you to make it a concerted effort to ensure that you are consciously aware of it, A, and B, that you have an action plan to help you accumulate assets, things that return value. So that's just, my pet peeve on it. Definitely take a look at it, how you're prioritizing your money. Do me this quick favor. Start in January of this year. Go back to January. Go to your bank statement. Look to see in the category called entertainment, dining out, how much did you spend over the entire year? That's when people say, well, I don't make the money, I can't afford this, can't do that. Well, let's see. Let's look at the numbers. Numbers don't lie. How much did you spend in those areas? I'm not saying you can't go out and do those things. I'm saying you should take at least 50% of that, 25% of that, and put that in an asset accumulating asset. An asset that accumulates over time. To me, that's important. It should be a high priority. Not only that, you should teach your children this at an early age. How does it ever change? We've had 400 years of some of the same stuff. You can take that same chart and take it back to the 1800s. It's going to look the exact same way. The difference between then and now is you have access to information. It's freely at your fingertips. But the entertainment and all of this other stuff is going to occupy you so much that you're not going to even pay attention to what's readily available for you. That is called education, guys. I have important things that I think that you should take your money and ensure that your money is, the majority of your money is in certain areas, and that is education. Because again, once you're educated, that information will never be taken from you. That's invaluable. You can't put a price tag on it. So if you pay for education of anything, that's a good investment. Okay. Life insurance policies are good investments. That's number 2. This is no certain order. Health and wellness, good education. Gym memberships, eating well. That's a good investment, I should say. The stock and bond market, of course, those are assets right at your fingertips that you can invest in. And you can invest with $1, $20, $200. Guys, it's a mindset. It's not about, hey, I'm gonna buy a stock and I'm gonna flip it and give me some profit off of it and take it out, take my money out and go run with it and go spend it. That's not what the stock market is about. It's about taking money out of your economy, out of your personal spending cycle, putting it to the side and allowing that money to work for you, which means allowing it to sit in a stock and watch that stock work over time. It could be you can keep it 20 years. That's okay. But that's what the purpose of investing is all about, okay? And also a business. If you're an entrepreneur and you're putting money back into your business, that's a good thing. Those are 5 principles or 5 areas that you should be putting your money to work in. And if you get paid off and you're not touching any of those 5 things, you're just playing a dangerous game. And when I say it's dangerous, I'm saying in the sense that you can end up at an older age and be in dire need. And you say, I've worked 40 years and I have nothing put up. That's what you are run into if you don't follow those principles. And that's a scary sight. And it's very possible that some people, because again, I tell people all the time, at a certain point, you're gonna get tired of working. You feel like, or you're gonna look beside you and somebody's gonna be a third of your age or half your age telling you what to do, right? Or you're gonna want to take off to do something important to you and you can't, or you can't get off work today. And you're in your 50s or, close to 60. What do you mean? So at what point are you gonna free yourself from, that conversation? It doesn't happen on its own. You're not going to speak it into existence. God is not going to touch you and make it happen. It's not going to happen like that. You're going to ask Noah. You have to put your work in, you have to be smart, and you have to follow those principles in the Bible. It's there for all of us to follow. So it doesn't just happen, guys. So that's another misnomer that I think people, have a bad misconception of. I can speak it into existence. You speak things, then you have to execute a plan. Then it'll happen, guys. Because when you speak it properly, a plan's going to come back, and then work is going to be involved. If you just speak it and go do something else, or keep doing what you're doing, you're going to watch 20 or 30 years go by, and you're going to be doing the same thing. So be careful around that, guys. I'm being serious because that chart that came out on CNN, you guys can look it up. It's disappointing. Because I know we can do better. I know we can spend. I know we're making the money. I can start looking up these brands and how much money we spend with these brands. Or you look at these, all this entertainment that's out there, and people will drop everything to go be entertained. That stuff costs money. We're spending it in those areas. But when you start talking about accumulating assets, you start talking about wealth creation, people start saying, I don't have money for that. So I'm trying to understand how you don't have money to create wealth, but you have money for all this other stuff. It's just, I know it's a priority thing. And we need to ensure that we have the right priorities in place. And if you feel like you can never get there, at least train your children. At least speak to them about it. So we can at least hopefully help the next generation, guys. But I'm going to wrap up this podcast. I talked about, 5 areas where money should go. I talked about the numbers that are, there are no misconceptions about where we are on these numbers, these charts. The article says the racial wealth gap is vast. There's nobody talking about it. Your entertainers aren't talking about it. Your talking heads aren't talking about it. This is an article. I'm talking about it because I know this is important. I know it's a big thing. It's a big problem because it shows that we haven't made any progress. Again, I can take the same chart, go back to 1865, and it's going to look the exact same way. How did that happen? How did it happen? With all of the technology out here, all of the access to information, supposedly, fair working, environment here where anybody can go get a job if they wanted to. That gap is supposed to be closed. Now, let me talk about the few people that say, it's not me. I'm an outlier. I got this. I make this amount of money. Again, you may be okay. Again, do the formula. See what your net worth is. If you're above 45,000, yeah, you're great. But on average, for us as a whole, this is where we are. And I think there's work to be done in the community. So if you're doing fine, if you look around in your family and you got a lot of family members who aren't doing fine, this is what we're talking about. We need everybody to be aware of this huge wealth gap, and hopefully we can start making some better decisions on how we invest, how we spend our money, and our priorities. And I think we can improve on this, on these numbers. Anyway, thanks guys for joining, and I welcome any questions. Please feel free to reach out and let's talk about it. Thank you.